Good to see you.
Good seeing you too.
Who
Okay,
else?
we're going live.
Greg Taylor.
Thanks, guys. We're going live.
Oh.
Oh, we're starting? We're starting?
Hello.
Greetings. Time to start? Yeah. I'm Linda Nygren. I'm the coordinator for the special interest group meetings at 3D-Con. And I'm happy to introduce this virtual reality special interest group. This meeting should have something for everyone, from the complete novice to the experienced VR enthusiast. Our leaders plan to start with a discussion of relevant VR products, platforms, and applications, and then explore some 3D galleries and VR environments of particular interest to 3D photographers in alt space. With that, Jim Harp and Dave Como will be leading this evening, and take it away.
Thank you very kindly, Linda. So Jim is over there, and we've got some fun freewheeling kind of things going on. Anything to say, Jim?
Just thanks for coming. And if anyone has one of these or a similar VR headset, disappears. Do hope you'll come and check out some of the work that's on AltSpace. A lot of people, including some special guests we have here tonight, have done some amazing things in there. And there's just a lot of really interesting work being done in the stereoscopic world within VR. And the thing about AltSpace, if you're not familiar with it, it's just basically sort of a free space where you can go and kind of make prototypes of projects you do in Unity or other VR things. So that's how a lot of us are using it. It's sort of a social network for VR, but a lot of us have ended up using it as a free prototyping space. And so you see some really interesting experimental work, which Dave has kindly put together to show you quite a lot of it.
Yep. So in this workshop, what we're going to try to do is, as Linda said, I'm just going to give an introduction. We're going to talk about different headsets, different applications, how to create stereo VR with cameras or in VR, what social apps you can use to view stereo imagery with other people, and then also what social apps support stereo imagery as part of their universes. And then we'll talk about what some traditional stereographers have done in virtual reality with a couple of our special guests. We'll have Daniel Chapman, and we'll show some of his wacky stuff going on in that room in AltSpace. And just to, as we mentioned that, I'm gonna add a spotlight here. And so we've also got Jay in the room, and I see that is that Mr. Pete in AltSpace? If he can come into the Zoom thing, that would be great too. I thought I saw him in there. Okay, well, we're looking for him. So at some point, maybe he'll be in the Zoom meeting.
Yeah,
so
email. Check his email.
Okay. So yeah, so Jay is showing. Well, Jay's looking around the room, and this is what people see in AltSpace. And
it is stereoscopic when you're in there. That is definitely worth mentioning.
Right.
There's nothing in VR that isn't 3D. That's
all right, go through, buddy.
Right. That's really the kind of key.
Turned off. Yes.
Okay. If you can maybe mute yourself in the real life there, and then yeah, I'm just going to share my screen and pop over just as we talk about the AltSpace, just to give you an idea real quick. Like Jim is saying, you have this stereoscopic view, and you can walk around and see things in actual stereo. But anyway, let's get back to the schedule. And so we talked about before about how VR is basically a digital stereoscope, and we really think that as for 3D to continue, it would be nice to be embraced in the VR community. It's just an automatic viewing in 3D. We also have a Discord channel, which we have on our web page. So again, I showed this briefly, but I'm sure you guys want to hear me talk about it again, like I did earlier. But anyway, for the VR people, just kind of the way you get around. We're going to talk about these different bits, but subscribe to our channel, and we can be in touch about all of this stuff.
Actually, a good question. Are we being recorded? Do we want to record this session? Is it being recorded?
It's being recorded on the Zoom. So
Okay.
Or I'm sorry, on the YouTube.
On YouTube. Okay, so it is being preserved for posterity. Very
Yes, yes, and we'll get it back. Okay, so quick raise of hands of people out there. Maybe we can make a poll in a little second. We'll try to do that when Jim's talking. But so, how many people, just by raise of hands, have a VR headset? Okay, cool. So people are adopting it, and so the question is, what headset should you get? Jim, what do you think?
well, that is a good question. In terms of bang for the buck, if you're first getting into this, I think it's unquestionable the VR, the Quest, the Oculus Quest is your best value for the money. But it's worth mentioning why that is. The reason that the Quest, which I think you can get one for $300, and there's the $400 one that has more storage space. I do recommend getting the more storage space because you really, especially if you get into immersive content, shooting your own 360, 3D, that sort of thing, space goes fast. The reason the Quest is cheaper is because Facebook is basically subsidizing it because they want your data. So if you're in that space anyway and you're okay with that, then you're saving money. On the other hand, there are some really nice headsets if you pay a little bit more that you're not necessarily having to tie yourself into a specific social media universe. So, but just in terms of sheer bang for the buck, and if you have a Facebook account anyway, the Quest is, it's $300, and it really should be an $800 headset in terms of the processor. And I'm talking about the Quest 2 specifically. The chip that's in there, the quality of the screen, the resolution. This is a very powerful.
Hello.
So, but as I say, there are many other choices, and you might pay a little bit more, but just understand, you can get into what's called the Steam universe or even Windows mixed reality, and also get very, very good quality. You might be paying a little bit more. For those who are sort of new to VR, don't want to get too much into the weeds, but I do want to mention there's basically two different types of virtual reality headsets. The Quest is sort of self-contained. It doesn't need to connect to a computer. As a result, it's a little bit less powerful in what it can do. For our purposes, if you want to look at your own images, if you want to go in alt space and look at stereoscopic imagery, this really does everything you need. If you want to really get into some amazing high-powered graphics apps, things such as Google Earth, there's some very high-end games that have been made for virtual reality. Those don't actually work on this because you do need a powerful computer with a graphics card to really be cutting edge. If you're just starting out, I think this is probably just in terms of what can you get for your money, what's the bang for the buck. Yeah, and then I certainly welcome other opinions, but that's what I would say. The Quest 2 definitely gets you in this space and gets you able to look around, gets you able to go into alt space and put your own images up or look at other people's stuff. This will get you going. Dave, do you have any, you want to argue with me?
Okay, I was muted. No, so I think, I agree with you. And that what's nice is that with the Quest 2 is that it's wireless and it has your kind of a little bit basic graphics. It has the cell phone processor in it, but you have the option of either wirelessly or tethering it to a gaming PC. So you have that expandability where you can really get the good graphics if you want to spend the extra time and bucks to get the big
and
system.
At this point, you can buy one of these, then get a high-end computer next year and play Half-Life Alyx all you want. So yeah, this doesn't limit you. That is a very good point.
Also, you can take your videos and upload them off your computer right into your headset and store them in Oculus TV. Or actually just store them on your headset. You can watch them with Oculus TV.
Very good point. And that is where you end up wanting the higher storage space. People, that's a very common question. Well, gee, I see this one's $100 more for another 128 gigabytes of memory. Is it worth it? If you're doing any kind of content creation, it really is. You know, you need that space. A couple of these videos will take up 20 gigs faster than you'd imagine. It's very data intensive.
Yeah. Okay. So I'm lowering all the hands. So if you have a real question, raise your hand next. So, but I think you're right. And it's portable. I know that you can get one that has external sensors, and then you get the best of the tracking, but you're going to be tethered to a machine. The other kind of the tricky part about the Quest is that they think the base model might be upgraded in September. So if you go for we can tell you the other thing is with VR, things could change tomorrow. They might come out with the Quest 3 and you'll say, oh,
with that issue, I say buy something right now. Don't ever sit around and wait for the thing that's supposed to come out next month. If you want to do something with this, buy it right now. Don't think that one man's opinion. You'll never get anything if you sit around waiting for that next thing that's coming out. This is quite something for $300 or $400. Sorry to interrupt.
Right. No. And then there was a recall with the face pads causing rashes, but they believe they fixed that. So don't let that scare you off.
Never used the face pad myself.
Yeah. No. Okay. So let's move on to what kind of apps can you use to view stereo content? And stuff is all opening in my other tab. But one of the big one that's popular with 3D folks is this app called Pegasus, because the developer is very 3D friendly, and he added MPO support at the request of users. So you can take your MPOs from your Fuji W3 if you have them, and you can stick them right on your headset, and then you can view them in this. So it's no muss, no fuss. You can view it in here. You can also view your side-by-side images. I think it's mainly for, I guess it can do video as well. I haven't looked at it in a while, but I think it's like $3 or something like that, but it goes toward a good cause. Somebody that's going to add MPO support in this day and age is a friend that we should support. So I think a lot of people in the Facebook thing said that Pegasus was what they used. Another one is the Skybox VR player. This is a really good one for VR 180 and 360 in 3D. There's a lot of expandable options, a lot of interesting. You can zoom in and out, and there's a lot of information that's throwing on you in front of you. But that's too fast a video for me, so I'm going to pause that. Skybox is good. Virtual desktop, another thing. So virtual desktop will let you view your 3D content streaming wirelessly from your PC. So that's another option to explore. Do you have anything else to add about virtual desktop?
Question, which you can probably answer better than I can. Someone's asking, and it's a pretty logical question. Can you view 3D Blu-ray movies in VR? Because a lot of us have these big collections of these things. My initial response is, well, you rip them to an MP4 using one of the various great tools. I don't know if there's, I believe there was some Sony product that could sort of play those things, but I'm not sure if it was only on the PlayStation VR that could do that. I think you are still having to kind of work around turning that 3D Blu-ray into some other format, which then is just something that you can play in any one of these apps you've mentioned. It'd be great if it was like some little cable you could hook up to your 3D Blu-ray and watch on here, but I don't believe such a thing exists right now.
Yeah, well, one thing that we're going to talk about is big screen, which is basically like a movie theater, and you can launch this app. It's free, and then you can watch 3D. Let's go to big screen because that's the option. Let's see. Screen. Okay, so in big screen, essentially what you're doing is you're able to share your desktop with on a big screen with 4 other people on the Quest, or if you're tethered to your PC, you can do it. You can share with 12 other people. And the fun trick is that you can then say, I'm sharing my desktop, but now I want it to be side by side. So if you're showing side by side content on your desktop, suddenly this giant movie theater in VR shows in 3D. And so everybody can watch things. And this is really nice to get a user group together, like your local club, if they're into VR. So you see all these people watching, and they could be watching your VR or your 3D slideshow just being played from your desktop. So to get back to what I said before, is so if you can play your Blu-ray on your PC, then you could share it in big screen, and then you could watch it with other people.
Well, is there a Blu-ray player that lets you play it back as side by side on your PC without first ripping it or doing something to it? I mean, you know, there's people who know a lot more about this than I do. But
if Eric might know, I was discussing this with some other people, but I don't know.
Yeah,
Amazing.
I've done it. I've actually, there's a program that I use. It runs in the background, and it's called AnyDVD HD, and it basically strips the protection off of the Blu-ray when you go to play it. So I'm actually able to play the Blu-ray files using Stereoscopic Player, Peter Wimmer's program, and convert it into whatever format I want. So I am able to play back a 3D Blu-ray full screen on my PC as a side-by-side and feed that into big screen and then put on a VR headset and watch it there.
All right.
But you need to have any DVD HD installed on the same computer.
That's some fantastic information. I'm sure people are jotting that down.
Yeah, worth writing down these little nuggets of information.
Yeah. Yep. So, okay. So to pop back to, again, to what kind of things we can use. Let's see. So YouTube VR is a great app to get on the Oculus Quest. It's kind of a must-have, in fact. So this is just YouTube's page, which we have on our VR tab. And it just says, hey, with a phone, you can do Cardboard, Google Cardboard, which is kind of an older technology. You could slide your phone into a Cardboard viewer. Some things like YouTube still work on it, but that's not totally what we're talking about. So we want to go down and say, oh, go to the Quest and go to the Oculus Store and get our YouTube VR. And what this does is for all of those these things that are tagged as 3D on YouTube, it allows YouTube VR app to play them back as 3D. So they have to be tagged in that special way and show as 3D. So if you've ever seen one of these on YouTube, if you move, you can see it's really a side-by-side, but the computer's turning it into anaglyph. So in the YouTube VR app, suddenly this is just all 3D for you. So all of the on our VR tab. Is my screen still sharing? You see it?
Yeah, I'm seeing it.
Okay. Okay. Cool. Okay.
Actually, no, I guess I'm not seeing your screen. I'm seeing Jay's.
Okay. Okay. Sorry about that. Okay. So I was just saying that the YouTube I was pointing out real quick, right? The little 3D enabled thing as I scroll, it's really these side-by-side videos, but it's got a special tag so that the YouTube VR app on the Quest plays them back in 3D. So these examples that we have on our webpage in the YouTube section, these all work use the YouTube VR app on your Quest. And we have some instructions over here, because unfortunately it's not straightforward. You have to click on the tab here and then watch something. And then having watched it, you have to go into your headset, go to the YouTube VR app, and then go to your history. Unfortunately, there's no easy way. It's kind of silly, but maybe it's Facebook and YouTube, who knows, arguing.
If I could add something there for just a moment,
Yeah.
I was doing some tests earlier this week with the material that we're showing in the 3D theater, because that's being posted as a side-by-side without the metadata. So it'll play back as side-by-side squeezed on various devices. And I found that actually the best way to play that back in the Quest was to run the Oculus browser and actually in browser go to YouTube, and it played back perfectly there. And the nice thing about doing it that way is all your subscriptions show up.
That is,
So
that's a
if-
good way to do
if
it.
you-
And go ahead.
Yeah.
I was going to
So
say,
if you've subscribed to the YouTube channel for the convention and you go there, the stuff on the convention channel should all be there in your subscription.
yeah. As a fallback, we don't mention this here, but there's a browser called Firefox Reality, which is like you've seen the Firefox browser. Firefox Reality can also play a YouTube, and you can choose side by side in there. There was a period of time when when Quest had changed the browser, and then the YouTube suddenly didn't work anymore on there. So as a fallback, you can try that other one. And what's nice about Firefox Reality is that there's an option to send your current tab on the PC over to your headset. So you press a button, and then suddenly when you open up the Reality browser, you've got that tab already open on your headset. So that's a nice thing.
Yeah, one of the in the Oculus browser, when you actually go to YouTube, when you play a video there's a little box at the bottom that you can check that indicates that it's a side-by-side 3D. So in the Oculus browser, it'll actually take the side-by-side squeeze, the half width, and stretch it out to full width and play it back in the browser properly.
Yes, that is a good point. So I just mentioned DOVR. We'll have it on the list somewhere, but this is another browser, and what's interesting is it can kind of do some web content. So there's a little, it's sort of like Skybox, except there's a little browser within it, and some websites will just work in VR, which is kind of nice. And it's free, so it's an interesting thing to check out. And we'll make these links available later too.
You know, Ron Labby's brought up an interesting question, and Eric, as long as Eric's here, he's probably one of the best experts on it. Are we losing a lot of resolution when we're going squeezed side by side? In other words, if we have the option of trying to get something on YouTube using tags to be able to put the full width, do you think there's a big
YouTube doesn't support full width for regular playback. What they moved to the VR 180. They'll still somewhat support playing back a standard 3D video file. It's got to have the metadata that says it's stereoscopic. But what YouTube actually does, they're creating their own anaglyph version of a video that has the metadata, and it's looking for a side-by-side squeezed file. So YouTube used to support much more with regards to 3D formats that you could upload. But at this point, the metadata only supports it as a side-by-side squeezed. If you upload it at full with stereoscopic metadata, it assumes that it's a VR 180. And rather than playing it back anaglyph on a computer or phone and side-by-side on a 3D TV, it tries to play it back as a VR 180, which is a wider immersive format.
Yeah, and I'm going to just interject. I'm glad you brought up VR 180 because there was a question in chat. What's the point of watching a 3D Blu-ray in VR? And it's quite a nice playback device for that. But definitely video formats such as VR 180 or 360 3D, those are where something like this really shines. Immersive video, which there's starting to be more and more ways to take these videos and images. That's really that's where this thing is so powerful. Yes, you can watch a Blu-ray on it, but it's you can look at a stereo card on it, but it really, there are formats that really are native to this universe, the virtual reality. And that's definitely one thing I've tried to do in the galleries I put together for the convention, was just have a mixture of stills that were conventional stereoscopic stills and then immersive stuff. 360 spheres you can walk inside of, VR 180 that fills your entire field of view. So just wanted to interject that. It is great. It is a great tool for looking at a Blu-ray or, you know, traditional 3D, but it does have its own native thing that is really well worth exploring.
Yep. So this is one of the links on our gallery from Greg Wormbrot. Stereo Time Traveler, and he's got this really cool kind of unworked. This video is definitely worth watching in YouTube VR, where he takes an old stereo card with the glass orbs, and then he unwraps it into VR 180. So it's really cool, and that was just an example of, I guess, what a VR 180 looks like in there. What I want to get to is this Orbix 360. So Jim Prusi is a friend of the NSA, and this is a free site where you can go and you can set up your 3D images. So it's really easy to use. You just click in there, and if I had a VR headset, I'd have little goggles on the side. If I went here in VR, it would change into real 3D. And since I'm not on a headset, all I have is the anaglyph option that working on here. I think these are supposed to be, I don't know what's going on. Anyhow, this thing is worth checking out in a VR headset, and it's called Orbix 360.
And one of the interesting things about Orbix is it is a platform that you don't have to have a VR headset to look at. You know, whereas the AltSpace stuff, you can look at AltSpace on a PC, but it's 2D. It's totally pointless. And Orbix is kind of the, I think that's the choice if you don't even have one of these yet, but maybe you have a phone and a cardboard viewer. You can really look and share your work in that platform, even if you don't have one of these.
Right, and that's, yeah, actually, if you click on like William Turner's in our VR page. So I know this one this one has the anaglyph. Think like the VR 180 ones maybe don't work. So this, if you put your glasses on, you can see the anaglyph with this. All right, and so you can kind of move around, and it's really immersive in, obviously, in that's a bit of a hyper, right? So you can look at these without having a VR headset. All right, back to our list. So that's pretty much some of the apps. We talk about how to create stereo VR 180 and 360. And unfortunately, there's not a lot of great options out there for the consumer. Most of the things are prosumer, starting at around $3,000. So the last generation with the Views XR and the Insta360, I think, had the affordable one. But we're in this weird little spot maybe where the high resolution and frame rate needed for comfortable VR is not price accessible.
There is one thing I want to add to that, is that Masuji Sudo came up with an app. It takes a little bit of fiddling, and it has particular uses, but it's called 3D-360. The word 3D and 360 allows you to take a conventional 360-degree camera, which you can get for $70, and do a cha-cha with it and create a 3D 360 sphere. So I say it takes some work and experimenting, but he's got some amazing results with it. You know, you have to understand that maybe the stuff that's right on your immediate side isn't going to be as well rendered. So anyway, just to, your point is well taken that, yeah, we're in a very difficult position right now with affordable tools for this. The Views XR is pretty much it, as far as I know. Right,
and like Jim McManus of Life is 3D has been busy. I'll slow these down for if you want to look at him at Anaglyph. This is on his site. He's got this. This is the, what does he say it is? I'm going to scroll down. Sorry about that. This is the Zcam, right? K1 Pro, and it's like $3,000, I think.
Yeah.
Right. So he's using it for like an actual gig where he's got the VR 180. Someone is doing a what is it? They're doing training. So he's got some kind of a scanning arm, and right, it's neat stuff, but unfortunately it's not as accessible to people. The other thing that's cool, that's pretty good, is that the StereoPie, which a bunch of us did a Kickstarter for. So this is version 2, and what it is it's a Raspberry Pi, and it has you can put 2 cameras on it, but you can also get wide angle cameras for it. for AR and VR. Now this is, as you can see, this is kind of a crowd-funded. It's in their version 2, and it's decent, but it's not as polished as, say, something that were to come out from one of your traditional camera companies. All right, so these are shipping pretty soon. I don't know if anyone out there got them.
Haven't gotten mine yet.
Yeah, no, the chip shortage, but there he does show that little image which I saw. It also does computing, computational. Sorry about this. Yeah, here we go. So this image, if I zoom in real big, you can see it's supposed to have. So it's going to be stereo, and you can do VR if you have the wide-angle lenses. And I think he did test it going to the Quest. So that's something exciting, but unfortunately nothing real big right there. Okay, real quick. So talking about creating content, you can actually in VR you can record in a side-by-side format, and maybe I'll cut over and just actually talk about. I'll talk to some of our artists who are here. So what we did in trying to set this up is I went and I took some photos in VR, and I'll open them in Stereo Photo Maker. So this is all just kind of raw, the raw photos. And so if you see, like, if you want a free view or use maybe the L'Oreal thing that viewer that came with your kit, this is what this is what was recorded from my Quest headset. So it's really just a cell phone behind it, and we've recorded that. So we get that, we get this, and we're going to talk about these in a second. So anyway, that's the format. And then if I were to go into Anaglyph, you can really just see that if I wanted to put it into traditional, I wouldn't look at it in Anaglyph now. But
That's released, right?
yeah, but as I adjust it, right? So to get it into kind of a good format, I have to adjust it and maybe window him at the bottom. And then I've got a lot going on. So I'll kind of like just crop just to get like kind of a decent picture. So
Yeah, and it's worth mentioning, part of the problem you're having here is that VR does not have a window. In other words, a VR headset is not thinking about putting anything behind the window. So when you try to adapt imagery from within a VR headset to what we're used to, yeah, you have to crop a lot, because the whole idea of it is there is no window. You're inside the image. So
right. And you'll see
if you try to do this, it's like it's not like you're realist.
Yeah, you'll see right here that this is my little alt space controls where I can look. It's kind of like a wristwatch almost, and so it's so windowed that and even when we get to later on, I'm going to show this these anaglyphs when we talk to chat. But if I try to align this so that things look nice, I lose that puppet, which is the whole point of the shot. So when you're shooting, when you're doing these screenshots, you kind of have to think of the middle area as the real what you're going to capture. So we'll do a workshop in AltSpace probably at some point on how to make these captures. So why don't we kick it over to, let's see. So I guess we've got Mr. Pete here. Where is Pete? Do you see here still? Do you guys see it? Okay. You there? You're wearing your anaglyph glasses, I see, Pete. Looks like you're muted, so I'll unmute you. You're still.
Can you hear me now? Can you hear me now?
Okay, yes. So you're unmuted, and then what I'm going to do is queue up your video. So if you want to say anything to intro your video, that would be good. I forget what's in the video, if it does everything we need.
Those are the 3 cameras I work with, including the little WeView, which has a fan on the top there to keep it cool.
Right, so you're just a pause. What I'll do is I'll go back and we'll say that you're 79 years old, 80?
I'll be 80 in my next birthday, yes.
Oh, okay, very good. And so this is a rig up. So
I'm
Jim
older
and I
than Jim.
Right. So Jim and I only know you and Daniel Shane Chapman, who is right next to Tim on my screen, but we know him as Chapter Green. So what they've done is in AltSpace, they've got it working so you can put any kind of they have stereo cameras, so you can put an image or you can share your desktop with a side by side, and if that's video, you can share that, and that all shows up in 3D. And so this is a setup of your house. So you've got the cameras here. This is to do your live streaming with your fan.
The Evo is a 3D and 360 camera, which the 360 works great in AltSpace, but as for 3D 180 degree, we're struggling with that.
Yeah, and unfortunately, it's not available anymore. So that's the difficult part. So you're
So now I'm
streaming-
starting up OBS on my laptop, desktop version. And this laptop was given to me by an individual that I know here in AltSpace. He paid for it, had it sent to my home, $2,300. Quite a blessing. And I don't know what video this is. This is, I don't know which one you.
I've definitely seen that water bottle before. So I think you've played that in AltSpace trying to get the camera set up. And as everybody who does 3D knows, it's impossible to get all this stuff aligned. And so Chap will be sitting there trying to get the right coordinates and everything.
Oh, are you kidding?
So
We
this is
still
a good-
haven't got it perfected.
Yeah, so this is a good shot right here. So you have on the left your laptop, and on the right, that's AltSpace. Right now it's only in 2D, of course, but that's you. There's a bleachers. I've been in that room.
Right. Yes. Now, if as it comes up, you can see I have wooden clamps, and I clamped to two of the cameras that I bought from Amazon for $10 a piece. They're supposed to be reconditioned. They do work great, but I'm going to completely redesign that again the way Chap has done his. We'll have to do it 3 or 4 times till we get. It's very difficult to get those cameras aligned, but I'm going to completely redesign that. Where you see the wooden clamp and the 2 cameras, you can see the lights on the camera. That'll be completely redesigned.
Yeah, you almost need like one of those things for dual projectors where you can adjust.
The other way that I brought my live 3D into AltSpace was with the WeView camera, which is not available on the market anymore. And it gets very hot, so I had to rig up a little USB fan to keep it cool. But it makes a very nice 3D picture in AltSpace. And also my home movies are very easy to edit. So I have several home videos of me and my great-grandchildren riding motor scooters and the golf cart in 3D. And to see it is just I mean, it's amazing to see your loved ones in 3D on a big giant screen in AltSpace. I'm not in my video right now, not seeing that WeView camera. It's on that wooden post. It's up above. It goes up above the 2 webcams. There it is. You can see it now, the little WeView. And then there's a fan, a USB fan behind it to keep it going. You know, I couldn't do the things I do, though, without other people in AltSpace. There's like 3, 4 other people, including Daniel Chapman, who's helped me tremendously to do this, to create these things. And that's the only way you get things done in AltSpace is by helping one another. And I just love it. I've always liked 3D. I made my first 3D photograph in 1965 with a Polaroid black and white camera by taking 2 photographs and Scotch taping them together and looking at them cross-eyed. That was it back then. Of course, I have my Viewmaster reels from a kid too, and 3 or 4 viewers, and just love 3D.
Yeah, Altspace is a really amazing place for just making new friends. And when something like this happened, we just call our friends and say, hey, can you come and do this? And we'll build
Yes.
fun, wacky things. And
And I don't want to fail to mention that it was Mr. Pete and Chapter Green basically taught me how everything I found out about how to make. I wouldn't have been able to make any galleries in Altspace without these guys, showing me stuff and sending me stuff. So yeah,
We got you started, man, and
Oh, yes.
you are the king of the band right now. You are the king of the band.
yeah, so
very generous with this stuff. It really is amazing.
yeah.
People share.
Do we want to chat? We want to pop over to you. Okay, so I'll ask you to unmute. So I'll get my edited versions.
So this here's a 3D side by side being brought in. It's a blue screen. The screen in the back is blue. And if you look real close, right on the one side there, you see the actual viewfinder of the Altspace camera that is pointed at this. And then that puts it on a screen, which you can kind of see all the way to the left, way in the back. You can see Mr. Pete. And because it's a combination of 3D and in this case blue screen, you can delete the background. And so when they're in Altspace, they actually call them holograms, which is, it looks really cool when you're in Altspace. And one of the reasons we did the blue screen was to put 180 into Altspace. Well, 180 anywheres, but in Altspace especially, the resolution is so low when you stretch it over a 180 sphere, you lose a lot of detail on a video. With a still image, you can have like 16K or more. I don't know. I've gone up to 16K and it still worked. You can bring, a high resolution 180 photo in, and then for the background, and then we're planning on doing a blue screen 3D on top of that, for the actual person speaking or any action stuff. What we're trying to do is make it so people can go to church in VR and have it be like you're actually there. I'm just trying to start a new faith studio. I'm hoping to get like an old church that's been closed and be able to set up the equipment in there with all the lighting and everything. And that's another thing, that the lighting makes a big difference.
Yeah, and I think something that's going on in Altspace right now with so Microsoft owns Altspace, and they're trying to get their sort of mixed reality in there, and so we're seeing more and more green screen videos in Altspace. But you've been working on getting the chroma key in for a while.
Yeah, we've had the chroma key shader for Unity, and we've had 3D shader, and I just put the two together. It took me like 10 days of like 8-hour days trying to get it to work, but I finally got it to work.
Yeah. And what's curious about Altspace too is there's more than one way to do things. So other people are working on different shaders, and then they're like, oh, look, and this one does this other thing that's slightly different. So it's always fun to see.
Yeah.
So here you got a puppet and you've got a player. And so this camera is taking the picture of the side-by-side. And right as I guess if I move along, this is to the left and you can see the puppets.
Now, yeah. And actually, I just got thinking, if the guy that's in there shooting the video, if he wants to point it at where the bar is, I think Mr. Pete's on there right now, I can start playing the puppet. And
that's true.
If he kind of moves around, you can see that it's in 3D. Let me get it going.
So Jay is spotlit down there.
And there it's going. I started it playing.
Oh, okay. Hi, everybody.
If you can put
I just
his image,
wanna
if you want to
Share some things with you today.
point himself at it.
You're still screen sharing, Dave.
Oh, okay.
Three blondes
If you
walking
can,
in New York City.
he turns
They
to
walked
the
in
back,
building,
you can
and
turn to
when you
the,
think there was three
the
of them,
left.
they would see the building.
you can see
You're
him.
not getting off to a good start.
Um,
No, listen, come on now. I want you to
Keep going and then go forward.
do a good job, okay?
You should be
I want you
there.
to do a good job.
Whoop, back. For some reason, he's not.
Thank you. I want you to do
No.
a good job. I can see your lips move. Never mind
Well-
about that. Listen,
He's
I
not
just
showing
want
up
you
for
to
some,
greet
but
everyone
he's
and, say hello.
Oh,
Hello,
okay.
just gonna go back to the web thing.
So now Jay's going to teleport to a different place where we've set some things up.
Me and
Okay.
Mr. Pete, we have a strange
I'll
and wonderful
get this
relationship.
paused.
He's strange and I'm wonderful.
And that's coming out of your,
Something we wouldn't do.
gotcha. Okay. So now he's in here. This is the room where we have the 3D name tag set up. So you can click and you can have a little name tag on yourself in 3D, which we're trying to put in the other rooms. So Jay is in
Oh, he was
here.
in the wrong room. Okay, let me,
Oh, okay. Oh, so you guys will go
we
into.
started playing again. That's why it wasn't, I was like, it should be there and it wasn't. Previous. There we go. This is the puppet.
Are we on? Yeah, right. Oh, okay.
There he's
Hi, everybody.
up in the space.
And this really has quite an impact when you're seeing it in 3D. I know it's on the screen.
Yeah.
On the computer screen, you're not getting. It really is well worth coming to all space and seeking out this stuff because it's amazing.
You can kind of pretend like the puppets are where Pete is. So they're using the same, the screen I just shared is where
Not getting off to a good start. No, listen, come on now. What
the
you do?
puppet shows up where Pete is.
Okay, so what you-
There. Go to the angel so that it's not, there's no sound on that one.
Okay, I'm going to show, I can show the image of the angel too. Share the screen and go to,
And Chap, I know there's some people who are curious. Can you just kind of quickly describe, you're doing this in Unity using a shader that basically lets you in real time do the chroma key canceling. So in other words, you're essentially able to have a live chroma key person appearing in virtual reality. Am I explaining that correctly?
Yeah, and we can do it live. Mr. Pete, we tried to get him set up before this so he could come in live. He can in his own world. He's got a world where there's a lot of worlds where you watch 3D, and Mr. Pete's been able to come in 3D and actually be able to talk to the other avatars that are in there from the 3D screen and be able to see them.
Yeah, I think you guys are prototyping stuff that's going to be very, very important for just live performance in VR. You know what you're doing, and I've often told people that AltSpace is free, and the reason it's free, just as I was saying before, that the Quest is kind of, you get a discount on it because Facebook is getting you in their system. The way I look at AltSpace is Microsoft is watching all of us prototype all these cool ideas, so they give us a little play space to do it for free. And I wouldn't be surprised if people are paying attention to what you're doing, because I think it's going to be very significant. This idea of successfully doing a live chroma into
That's
virtual.
the wrong bar he went to. It's the one over by where the web projector is.
yeah. And Charles Bernard, yes, the live feed is being fed to a texture on a polygon.
Right there behind Mr. Pete.
That's
There should be, I think, an angel sitting there.
that's essentially how you do the side-by-side images as well. So all the images on the walls that you see are a very basic thing that Jim will talk about in his workshop upcoming in the convention, where you have this.
Oh, that Saturday, 12:30 Eastern, 9:30 Pacific.
Yes, yes.
More of this. If you can stand anymore, we'll be looking into the weeds of how this is done in terms of still images. I'm not up to these guys with the videos, but
Yeah.
also how you can put stills up in Unity and put them into VR.
This is just another image of, so this is like the altar, and they've messed with putting Mr. Pete on that. And then this one also has some transparency. I don't know if you can tell, but I guess the sort of the
back wall, yeah.
Yeah, the back wall is bleeding through to because it's transparent on there. So that's a test of 180.
It was the first image that I did with the chroma key 3D combination. You can't tell it in this, but it's actually in 3D. And you can walk into it and look to the left. Part of the idea is to have it so you can walk in and look to your left, and the camera, the 3D 180 sphere camera will be set back where you can look to your left and see people that are in the actual church, and you'll be able to wave to them with your avatar, and they'll be able to see you and wave back. And then same thing to the right, and then you'll be able to flip straight forward and interact with the pastor even, or worship leaders or whatever. And then there will be a Q&A time afterwards where you can ask the pastor questions from VR. So you can be anywhere in the world and attend a church, anywhere that has internet and you have a headset.
Super cool. Then also the alpha shader support. We would show you, we did have a wearable. I talked about that name tag badge. We have this little phantom eye that Jay made a while ago, but unfortunately it has so when you attach it to your body, it has a collider attached to it, so you go flying off if you're in 2D. So for people that don't understand colliders, it's just basically something runs into something else. So if you attach something to yourself, they fight each other and bad things happen. So anyway, so things are going on in there. Do we want to open it up to Q&A? If anybody has any questions, you can raise your hand and figure something out. It's been a long day. Oh, Steve Slater too, as he's got some cool stuff in the gallery.
Yeah, and there's actually a teleporter if you go into the main NSA. There's a couple of NSA galleries, but you will see some teleporters to his. I think the world's called Pink 2. Very interesting stuff, and I highly recommend just looking around all the different galleries that are. We put some links up, I think, in some of the convention material. But there's a lot of interesting work up there, and more stuff coming.
I see Lance Wald has his hand raised. Lance, do you want to turn your camera on?
I'm not gonna turn my camera on right now. It's probably a better thing. But thank you for the presentation. Very cool. It's been a while since I've been on. You can hear me, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Okay. It's been a while since I've been on Pegasus. I'm happy to hear that they do MPO directly. So that's good news. But one thing I did want to add is on Pegasus. Sounds like a lot of you guys have huge gig, because you were talking about the storage on the Oculus Quest 2. Sounds like a lot of you have huge multi-gig collections of, Blu-ray movies or, 3D movies and 3D pictures. Pegasus does have that option where you can actually stream from the Flex DLNA, and you don't need a super powerful computer. So you can have gigs and gigs and gigs and gigs and stream it on Flex inside of Pegasus in 3D or SBS. So not necessarily for me or most casual users, but if someone has a huge collection, you can really get anything you want.
Yeah, and if you're shooting in 3D 360 especially, your collection gets huge in no time.
Yeah,
they're just big files, especially if you want them in a high resolution. Carlton, I think, has a question. Carlton, are you unmuted? There he is. Unmute yourself, or do we need to ask you to unmute? Ask to unmute.
There we go. Testing 1, 2.
Yes, I hear you.
Okay, cool. Yeah, Jim, you mentioned earlier that there's no barriers that you have to, if you want to make it look like a 3D, you have to create barriers or frames. Is that what you said? You have to crop it in.
Oh, well, we were just talking about if you're taking the output from something like Oculus Mirror that's giving you what you're seeing directly in the headset, it just doesn't, it's not really set up the way we're used to having windowing set up for a stereoscopic view where you're behind. Our kind of traditional stereo card was sort of set up that the stereo card was kind of a border and the image was behind it. With VR, you're sort of inside it.
Right, I understand. I'm just curious if there is a group or a technique where they do basically set it up so that you as a participant go in and don't move around, but let the stuff happen to you. Because right now I get the sense that this VR, you have to walk in and you have to move and you have to do all this stuff.
That's
But
a good point.
but to me, the point is,
entertainment for 100 years. Come on.
well, I'm saying it's a different mindset. But I would see contemplative work where you go knowing you're just going to be stationary and this immersive thing is going to happen over you.
Oh, it's a very good point. And you can make yourself, in fact, I've done that in AltSpace. You can set something up so someone comes in and they're in barriers. It's a very good point that, yeah, you do sometimes want to control how someone is moving around or seeing the item, and you very well might not want them to move. You do, I mean, you can do that. You can set it so that someone goes in there and they can't move around.
Well, it's not a matter of can't moving around.
But I think, well, Carlton, sorry to interject, but there are like VR 360 3D movies or 180 movies that are immersive where things do happen to you. Or there's also like there's an ayahuasca trip journey kind of thing, which you can get as an app. There's the Museum of Other Realities, which we should have mentioned. That's a really cool VR museum that actually holds exhibits periodically. And in fact, you tried to go.
That's actually a good example of something that you won't work on a Quest unless you're connected to a high-end computer, because that's where you do need some graphics power. And just, this isn't entirely relevant to what you're talking about, but when I put 360, I found that when I put up 360 image spheres in VR, I really need to control where people go to look at them in order for them not to see a totally distorted, misshapen view. So I talk about this a little in the workshop that's going to be on Saturday, that I'll put invisible planes creating triangles and tell people go as far as you can, just to basically not force them, but to put them in the point where the image is going to look correct. So that is actually kind of a really relevant issue in this kind of work, is sometimes you do need to control where someone's going to be to get the best point of view. You don't necessarily want them wandering all over the place. A 360 image sphere, if you're not right in the, I find your eyes have to be right in the center of the sphere, your eyes. So that means if you're walking around in AltSpace where you're 5 virtual feet tall, you actually have to offset that. And it makes a big difference, especially if it's architecture, you're showing a city, to not have it be all wrapped around you correctly.
Well, to address what you just said, that kind of reminds me of the early quad audio systems where you really had to be at a very specific place.
Actually, if you make the sphere really, really big, and you spawn in the center of it, when you move proportionally, you're not hardly moving at all.
That's exactly true. And so really what I'm saying is only relevant if I want to show multiple spheres, which I tried to do in the galleries. I wanted to have 3 or 4 spheres someone can go into. And that's where I really need to control, because I can't have them be. But yeah, Daniel is making a very good point that, yeah, if you have a really huge sphere, then you can put someone in that place and they can walk around all day long because they can't really go anywhere if it's big enough. And that's the thing in virtual reality. You can make your sphere, half a mile wide. If you so choose, and then
don't lose any quality or resolution because
exactly, yeah, no, that's, I mean, the whole resolution thing's a whole other ball game.
Even though it's way far away, because it's also bigger, it all gets where it looks the same.
Yeah, that's a very good point. So what I'm saying is really applies if you'll see I've made some galleries where there's maybe 2 spheres that you can walk into, and with VR 180, I tend to put a plane right in front of it because I find if you get too close to it, it's this very strange experience that you've walked into the image. So the galleries where I put VR 180 up, and I'm still experimenting. I'm not saying I've found out the standard way to do it, but what I find works well is to put an invisible plane basically right before the edge of the sphere that the VR 180 is into, so that someone isn't walking all the way into it and coming right up to the image. But I'm actually very curious if anyone goes in those galleries, what you think of that, if it should be done differently. It's a new field here.
And if it's photographs, we've actually done spheres where we do a slideshow in the sphere, and you go from one image to the next.
And I've been having fun spinning them around. That's what I've been doing lately, is making rotating restaurants. On my gallery, I'll spin the sphere around using Unity animation.
And by the way, we've been talking about AltSpace, I think, because once you make all of the content in Unity, you can put them into different worlds. And like there's VR chat, which we haven't brought up, but like I think VR chat we haven't gone too much because it's just entirely, it's sort of like Armageddon as far as things happen. And so this guy, Paul Marsano, he makes these, so this is all in 3D in VR, these fractals, but obviously it's only in 2D on your screen.
Yeah, it's well worth checking out his stuff. It's amazing.
Yeah, and he does some stereoscopic.
He's a musician too, so he's using it as a medium to share his music, which is also a very exciting application of this. It's a great way for artists to share their work in all kinds of.
He's probably the genesis for you and Jim McManus and me. That time we went to some crazy worlds like this and flew around in helicopters and did crazy stuff. So yeah.
And another way to bring stuff into VR, it's 3D modeling rendered or 3D rendered stuff, is to scan it in with like a LiDAR, or take a bunch of photographs from all these different angles, and there's software that'll put that all together into a 3D image. And then you can actually walk through it or move through it, navigate through your whole, like there's been houses where they're actually images of the house. You can go through the house like you're actually there.
Yeah, and I think there's a lot of interesting applications for, town historical societies, museums. That's one thing I'd love to do, is take my town and create it as it was in 1800 or 1700. And so now, how are we on time? Did Linda, maybe I should ask, should we be concerned about, are we going over our clock here?
Or good. Oh, you got muted.
You're a few minutes over, but you've still got a few raised hands.
Yeah, I wanted to get to
address. Yeah,
Labby's raised his hand. Shall we ask him to unmute?
I think Carlton was.
Oh, I'm sorry.
I think Carlton Wright was maybe before.
Go for it.
Go ahead, Carlton. Wright, not Bright.
Right, and so let's see. Let me see if I can ask you to unmute.
Now I've done. Okay. Hello. I did it mostly because Carlton Bright, and just making clear that there are two Carltons here. And I'm in Sydney, Australia. So I thank you for the timing, because it's now 11 a.m. in Sydney. So your timing is just perfect for me. I have sent a few notes on the chat room. I've done 3D for many, many years, 50 years more. And I'm president of the Sydney Stereo Camera Club at the moment. But I've also been involved in VR for quite a long time with my Vuz camera and my Insta 180 camera, which unfortunately, as you said, the Insta's not there now, but they were very good cameras. And if you can get an Insta 180, I recommend it, because it's very convenient, because I find it has higher resolution than I can see.
The Evo, right? Yeah, love that. Too bad they discontinued.
It is a real pity, because I just took one and then turned it around and took another and stitched it for 360. It was perfect. Before I got those cameras, I used my Samsung phone, and they had an app that allows you to do 360. Of course, the problem is movement. So there are lots of opportunities and lots of things to do. The main problem with 3D, getting it off the, especially the Insta 180, was the baseline between the lenses are very short. And as you said before, I had to crop well within the fisheye, if you like, rectilinearize it, and then there's still quite a bit of distortion. So it ain't easy, but it is possible, and it's still fun to have. So I won't take more time, but I just thought I'd add that all in. Thank you. Great talk.
Oh, is it my turn yet? I just wanted to bring up the idea of sharing my VR headset because I did have the Go for a long time. And before COVID, it was great fun to turn people on to VR who had never seen it, which is most people. And now that I have the Quest 2, it's, I think, going to be even more fun to have 6 degrees of freedom as opposed to 3. So I'm excited about that. And I just, we probably don't have a time for a discussion, but maybe there should be at some point talking about, how do you share it?
I'll just interject, Ron, because it's a really good point. And I purchased a thing because I like to go and do demonstrations to these things to different civic groups. I will do talks in the community showing how VR can be used. So I bought this thing called the Luma Pro. There's a couple different products that basically use ultraviolet light. You can put a headset in it, and in 2 minutes, it claims to get rid of all pathogens. I mean, I can't say I've taken a microscope and proved it, but I understand the idea. And this does seem to be, there's a couple different products that are being very widely used because people in corporate training are using VR headsets very widely. So believe me, this is an issue people have been really thinking about. So just to, as you say, it's a big topic we could talk about at length, but I do want to mention there are products. I think this thing was maybe $700. I mean, it was a painful expenditure, but it does mean that I can hopefully go to a room full of people and have, a couple of headsets and just pass one around and sterilize the other one and keep doing that. And hopefully have people feel comfortable with it. Because you're right. That's my favorite thing was bringing these things to meetings in New York and passing them around. I miss it dearly.
The other aspect is fitting them on various size heads, especially, just the plain straps that the Go had were not easy to accommodate different size heads. But I just got this Bobo VR M2, which is amazing because it's so easy to just pull this down and it seems to fit right away on a head. And
Looks like a really nice design.
Yeah.
And that is one nice thing about the Quest's popularity is that there's so many of them that it's worth third-party companies coming up with great solutions like that. I haven't seen that one. That looks awesome.
Yeah, it's much better than the Elite that I also tried. And
yeah, if you buy something, be prepared to buy a bunch of different kind of third part like options, fitting bits. I have all kinds of things, straps.
These are like rubbery, and so they clean really easy. And you can put these on your headsets over the.
Oh yeah, the silicone. I think that's what they're giving out with the Quest now that the rash started.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not sure. I haven't gotten mine yet. I did put in for a new cushion. But these just go over the existing cushion, and you can remove them and put more on for when you're sharing your headset with other people with COVID.
That's a good point. I'm going to go to Steve's later because I'm
sure we should wrap it up before too much longer. But
the next thing is I think just the happy hour, right?
Yeah. Well,
I think
who's happy anyway? Lance, are you still?
Yeah. I had one point, and forgive me if I'm being too simplistic. I think that Carlton was basically, I don't know if he has a VR headset or not, but I think he was just asking if you could just like sit down and look at pictures and not have to walk around. So if I'm being oversimplistic, but Carlton, if you hear me, a lot of what they were talking about earlier in the presentation, Pegasus, big screen, all of these things, you don't have to walk around. You just sit and look at pictures and enjoy them. It's not you don't have to be interactive and walk around the space if that's what you were asking.
In a movie theater, I mean, you can just be sitting in a chair in a movie theater in that.
Right. I don't know if he was aware of that, unless like I said, if I'm being oversimplistic. And anyway, also one thing that just drives me crazy with the Pegasus, if you're showing somebody an SBS picture, or if you're looking at an SBS picture and you take it off, it goes right back to the main menu all the time. You can't just keep that one picture there and just take it off and show somebody else unless there's a setting. If there is, please tell me.
I have found what's worked for me because I've had that issue. I don't know if you're talking about the auto shut off thing when you take the headset.
Yes, sir.
I found a paper towel taped over the sensor. In other words, just a piece of tape won't do it. But for whatever reason, a little piece of paper towel right over that sensor, the thing will stay on all night. Because when I'm trying to do some of the recording things, like recording myself in VR, it's a real problem that the thing wants to keep shutting itself off. So that's what's worked for me. Worth a try. Don't ask me why that works, but
I use
A high-tech solution, I would say.
I'll try it. Thanks, guys.
painter's tape has worked for me. I don't know.
yeah, but just black tape sometimes doesn't work. So
I want to quick pop over, just mention Steve Slater, because Steve, if you want to unmute and say something, we have Steve has a cool world where he's wrapped like stereo images onto vases and
Yeah,
objects.
but the main thing I wanted to point out is it was much easier for me to figure out how to display side-by-side stereo images than I ever thought. I never became a master in Unity, but I was given the shader by Ben VR, and he said I can pass it around. So anybody that wants to get started, I'd be real pleased to email you the short file, which is the shader that you use in the free copy of Unity. And I've made a couple of amateurish videos showing you the steps, but there are some better ones I can link to. So I think a lot of 3D photographers are overestimating how hard it is to put their work on AltSpace. And AltSpace is the greatest place to view them. All the other places you view side by side, you can't walk up to them or use your controller to zoom, from the left side to the right side of your 3D images to stick your nose in it. So I think it's really a great chance for not so techie 3D photographers to put their own work up. And I'd be pleased to, my email is easy to remember. It's
hold on a second.
Okay.
I don't want to, actually Jim Harp has a workshop on it.
I think that's great. I mean, as many people doing the information.
Okay.
It's just funny. What you're saying is exactly what I'm trying to do, where I'm providing people the shaders that Ben VR is, very generous. I'm actually
that's great. I didn't know that. So.
I'm not saying you should do it too. Everyone should do it, because your point is well taken. It's not so hard, and I tried to make a half-hour workshop to give people a template. You take the template, the shaders, everything's in there. All you have to do is drag your picture onto an already existing plane. So yeah, it's a good point. It can sometimes be intimidating when you look at this. It's like, oh, I could never figure that out.
Yeah, we don't see very many 3D photographers like jumping in, and if we don't do it soon, AltSpace might not pay us respect as stereo photographers. I mean, we got to really watch out. I mean, I was kind of disappointed how few people showed up in the room today. And I crashed every time I came in. I don't know if my settings are wrong.
AltSpace is going through some changes. I've had a very hard time trying to get some galleries ready for this convention, just because there'd be some days where nothing would upload.
Well, I think the big boys at Microsoft aren't paying attention as much as they could.
Yeah, and they're trying to upgrade to the newer version of Unity, which who knows might make life wonderful. But these transitions are always difficult with this stuff. It's very
accommodating 2D people. Too much accommodation to 2D.
Planning this convention, I've been saying I just hope they don't break it right before our convention. I really hope they don't break AltSpace right before we're inviting everyone in, and then you have to sign in every time you get close to it. So,
I'd made a Unity package that has a bunch of blank spheres and 9:16 and different aspect ratios, and all you need to do is open that up and then drag your side-by-sides onto them and then upload them as a kit, and then you can bring them into Unity.
Maybe you can put a link to that in our Discord.
Well,
or
yeah,
I can talk to you, whatever you want.
I can try that. Yeah, I can post it on Discord. I think it'll.
Anyway, once again, just to promote the workshop, only because if you're curious about this specific topic, you can actually see in the workshop. I actually go into Unity. I pre-recorded some of it. You can actually see me dragging stuff onto a shader, importing pictures. So please come and we can ask more questions. Then we probably should. I think we've answered everyone's raised hand, right?
When is the workshop?
It's Saturday, 12:30 Eastern time. That'll be the current event if you go on the website. And as I said, I pre-recorded a lot of it just because I wanted to show, me running Unity, then me looking at the gallery within the headset. So I tried to. I'll also be there answering questions in chat and all that. But yeah, please stop by if you can. But yeah, by all means, share that stuff, because your point's really well taken. This is a great opportunity for 3D photographers, but we should plant the flag there and make sure our stuff is a big part of that content.
I think 3D photographers do plant the flag for building the future. So I think that's where we come in. All right, great.
All right. Well, thanks everyone. That's really been a lot of fun. And the happy hours is that in Gathertown or?
Nope, it's in
No,
Zoom.
that'll
On
be
Zoom
in
and-
another Zoom. So
Oh, awesome. Okay.
yeah, we'll be ending this Zoom, and then in just over 10 minutes, we'll be in the next Zoom for the happy hour.
Well, thanks.
Okay, well, thank you all.
Thanks to our guest artists, especially Chapper Green, Mr. Pete. It was really a pleasure seeing your work, seeing what you're up to. Go look for their worlds. Highly recommended. Okay, good night.
Good night.
No.